Hyperliquid is the beast that Fogo Chain needs to contend with. We must know their strengths, their weaknesses, and most importantly, the lessons they've learned so that we can grow even faster than they are. So let's dive in and work out what is Hyperliquid. So this is Hyperliquid. As an outside view, this looks like a decentralized Perps exchange. But first, to understand Hyperliquid, we just need to talk about centralized exchanges. CEXs, Binance, Bybit, etc. They've long been crypto's cash cows. They make money through transaction fees, market making, token listings, you name it. They've been instrumental in onboarding retail users. They've helped grow the entire crypto space. But crypto is about decentralization, and that's where Hyperliquid stepped in. So what you can see here are order books. Hyperliquid set out to bring centralized exchange level performance to a decentralized system without sacrificing the transparency. It's a DEX where you can leverage trade with low fees, high throughput, and on-chain execution. But the real moat is composability. Unlike CEXs like Binance or Coinbase, Hyperliquid enables DeFi apps to plug directly into its on-chain order book. More on that in a second. That's something most centralized platforms can't or will never offer. However, even if we look at this and we think this is very nice as a Perps DEX, so we can go and short things, long things, do whatever it is we want to, it is still very, very hard to actually initially use it. There's a massive UI UX issue where it's just not simple to get funds onto the blockchain. You need to be an advanced crypto on-chain user in order to even trade here initially. The foundation of Hyperliquid lies in two major components, Hypercore and HyperEVM. So Hypercore is a trading engine. It's an on-chain order book and it powers spot and Perps markets. Then came HyperEVM. This is an EVM Ethereum virtual machine compatible layer that allows developers to deploy smart contracts directly on the chain. You can think of it like this. If Compound Finance wanted to build on Hyperliquid, they could, and they'd access all the liquidity and performance of Hypercore's order book. So this combination opens the door to a highly composable DeFi ecosystem, all within one single chain. Let's have a quick look at some statistics. Total number of users, or at least addresses, 450,000. Huge amount of volume. Total deposits, massive. Total withdrawals, massive. And the amount liquidated has been sizable as well. We can scroll down to see other statistics, but essentially, these guys are making $1.5 million up to that in daily revenue. And right now, having a look at Masari, you can see 30 days worth of transaction fees being $20 million. They started this without a token at launch. It had a 6-month points program. This began November 1st, 2023, and it ended May 1st, 2024. And only after that came the airdrop. First, of course, they established a foundation, which is typical. And then the Genesis event was November the 29th, 2024. 31% of the total token supply went to real users based on on-chain activity. That's a fair launch. No VC tokens ready to dump. It's also pretty crazy because most projects typically launch with something called low float, high FTV. So quite often there's 10 or 20% of the total amount of tokens out at launch, whereas they airdropped 31% just like that. So by doing our research, reading through all this, it's clear this is not just a high-performing chain or product. It was a very well-executed community-first strategy. And as a token launched, both the price of the token and the actual TVL actually increased. You can see it right here that the number of users that started using and flocking here actually increased. It was not your typical system where people come and farm, like blast and scroll these particular blockchains. They get their rewards, they sell them, and then they bugger off. This had and has product market fit. Then came staking. This had tiered fee reductions and further integration of the token into the broader roadmap. Kind of like how Binance leverages BNB, kind of. But not everything was perfect. One early criticism was centralization. Initially, the validator set was small, raising concerns. Hyperliquid recently responded. They expanded to 21 validators in a permissionless setup based on stake weight. And that is a solid fix. They're definitely doing so many things right because they have open interest of $5.6 billion. That's the total amount of money that's sitting there in a long or a short position that hasn't been closed. Actual money in the system that a fee is taken on, which of course goes to Hyperliquid. However, there's another moment of controversy, and this came with liquidity crunch, which triggered some FUD. I personally believe they could have handled it much better. You can do your own research into it, but this is a perfect lesson where Fogo Chain can learn from this silly mistake. They did manage to keep their reputation intact. And this related to someone manipulating the price of jelly. They actually bumped up the price of jelly massively. And what Hyperliquid actually did is they liquidated the position at a very, very minor rate. And that minor rate meant that Hyperliquid was not out of any dollars, but it basically represented that they are actually centralized. It's still a lesson learned. Some people are for the liquidation, some people are against it. The truth is, people are still using it, and plenty of them, because they delivered and they kept on building, and then they improved on the decision-making process in the future. In my personal opinion, there's so many takeaways that Fogo needs to take away from this, because Hyperliquid is a massive force to be reckoned with that take on Binance, the big exchanges, and potentially the big exchanges are putting in the effort to try and stop Hyperliquid from actually being even more successful. But one major thing is there's been plenty of transparency. Whether or not you agreed with it or not, there has been plenty of transparency, massive amount of reach, and at the end of the day, Hyperliquid just keeps on growing. So for Fogo Chain, in our opinion, this is more than just research. It's a playbook. There are some key and big takeaways. One, start with a performant decentralized validator set. Fogo Chain is faster and better and more performant. We cover this every single week, but the goal is a block time of 20 milliseconds. Currently, it's around 50, but it's still faster than Hyperliquid. The next step could be how the validators make decisions. Of course, launching spot and perp trading ASAP, building your own hypercore equivalent, essentially, very, very early. Then monetizing listings, but making it permissionless, launching with a native stablecoin, and ensuring it's easy to get funds onto your blockchain trade. And then if you want to remove it, removing the funds as well. Having a native stablecoin, USDC or whatever, it's essential for trust and liquidity. Another great action is tying token utility to the roadmap. Use it for staking, governance, and fee reductions. But probably the most important thing to pay attention to is you want real users. You want users that are so bullish on what you're creating. So design your airdrop around real usage. On-chain activity should be really the only KPI that matters. Maybe there's a little bit of something for people that are making epic content or contributing in the community. But you want users because those users generate fees. They win, hopefully they win, and then they bring on more users as well. And I've already touched on it, but essentially, you need to prioritize the UX. The user experience is so, so important. Hyperliquid struggles here. Bridging from Arbitrum to Hypercore, it's clunky. It's basically requires a few tutorials to even get there. Make your user journey seamless, and you'll onboard faster than anyone else. So that's that. Hyperliquid didn't just build a protocol, they built a blueprint, and now it's Fogo's turn to go faster, be more agile, and do even better. With that in mind, let's go build and be Fogo fast.